Gianni, what's going on, man?
How's it going, dude?
It is going very well. Just wanted to huddle with you today. I know you recently hit 10,000 with your business and wanted to get the play-by-play in terms of your journey and how you got here. And first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And maybe you can walk us back. I think it'd be great for everyone to kind of hear your story of like why you even made this decision to begin with. And then maybe you could talk about your journey from, going from I'm just starting this thing to, hey, we've got an up and running business, and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple months ago, I was at a different job than where I'm at now, a full-time job. And, I had a lot of extra time. It was a pretty easy job where I could find time to do other things. So started to look at other businesses and saw, opportunities to buy other businesses and things like that. And then I think I probably stumbled upon your LinkedIn somehow. I'm not even sure how, and, reached out, and obviously hesitant at first as we all are to things like this. But I think getting a chance to, watch these type of testimonials or talk to people that have done it already is pretty, self-explanatory of like how the whole thing works. And ultimately it came down to, how much time and effort you put into it, because anybody can show you how to do it, but unless you're willing to put in the time and the effort, it's not going to work out. So it's honestly more about how bad you want it. And then, started off, forget what month, it was probably like October or something, started doing the course. Oh, hold on a second. Somebody's knocking on my door. So started doing the course around October, worked through it, got through most of the modules. And then, when it got time to start doing the actual things that you need to be doing, like hiring, all that, it's a little bit nerve wracking. And at first you're kind of like, you hit a lot of, roadblocks. You might hit a lot of roadblocks, you might not, but like everybody's going to hit some roadblocks, and it's, all about how you're willing to get past them and just keep learning and keep doing one thing at a time. And the system is kind of set up to help you through that, right? With you guys just having the one-on-one chats and being able to talk into that whenever you want. It's super helpful. So, did that the first 2 months. I think I did my first clean probably in November. And again, very much not knowing what we're doing and what's going to happen, but just handling it one day at a time and working through the kinks here and there. And then things start to like pretty quickly start to get pretty repetitive in that, like, exactly what to say, how to handle a situation, how to handle, maybe an unhappy client. And then you start to try out different marketing engines and what works and what doesn't. And for me, being in Miami, it's a super competitive market. There's just like a lot of, cleaning ladies that just do it for themselves, but they don't have the company. So it's like a double-edged sword, that like you have very unqualified people that are just going out and cleaning and aren't dependable. And then you have companies who are the opposite, but charge a lot more. So you're going to have those people that rather go that route versus a company like ours. And for me in the beginning, it was all about like sticking to, my price point and not budging too much, not wanting to do too big of discounts, because it then like more discount in my service. And don't get me wrong, I sold a lot of really cheap cleans in the beginning, but I think that's kind of how you get started, and then how you really, build your value and see that like what you're doing is completely different. And the more organized you are, the better it is. So we just completed, January was obviously, our best month so far. We did almost 12,000 in gross, and I think that was only with 2 cleaners. So hiring's been something that's a little bit challenging down here, but if we can continue to hire and continue to retain, our cleaners, I think we should be fine. And, I say our, and I did this by myself, but I kind of get used to saying our because it makes my company sound bigger and more important. So just another sales tool that I like to use whenever I can.
Awesome. I think a couple of things stood out to me when you just said all of that. I appreciate you sharing that. I think the first thing was, hey, everything can be kind of laid out for you, but ultimately you did everything here. And I think when you kind of frame it that way, it's a good way to like mentally step into an entrepreneurial venture, right?
Yeah.
Even if you do coaching, even if you get mentorship, like the puck isn't moving unless you're going to move that, right, at the end of the day. So I think that was, kudos to you on taking action and doing everything that was laid out. I guess from my perspective for you, what did you find most valuable for you in terms of like program and the support piece?
I think honestly, like every time I explain this to somebody, it's like you can either pay for this course and go through it and learn it very quickly and you can get it up in a month, or you can go through 6 to 12 months of like trial and error. And if you're willing to put in the time and spend the money, because you might spend way more than this course is valued at, you can do that. But for me, I'm like, how can I be more efficient? How can I, put the money in first and then get the results? And that's what really stood out to me. Like every single step is put in there. You and your team is really willing to answer any questions and help out and like step in even when needed. So I think to me, it was like kind of overall just having everything in one place and not having to do all these things myself and learn how to do them from scratch. I mean, I've worked in companies like at this point up to 10 years and have been in senior leadership with companies, but it doesn't teach you how to start a company from scratch, which is completely different, right? So to be able to just have all these things on a website with modules where I can watch them in my own time and replay them or slow them down or ask questions, it beats the 6 to 12 months of kind of learning from mistakes. And look, I did it anyways because I tried certain things myself and I made the mistakes and I learned from it, but I didn't end up spending more money than I thought I would. And I guarantee I would have spent a lot more money if I didn't do the course.
Cool. Appreciate that. And in terms of how you're viewing the company going forward, how do you view things? I know you even mentioned on the top of the call, hey, I was even considering buying a business.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you kind of see the journey of like maybe this company on like a 1 to 2 year horizon? And then how are you viewing things like on the 5 to 10? Because I know you kind of come from a similar background to me, a little bit more sophisticated corporate position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have high aspirations for what you can do always. How are you viewing things on a long-term basis?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So 1 to 2 years, I think there's a certain point that I want to grow the cleaning business up to. Like I don't want it to take over so much of my time. Not that it does right now, to be honest. It really just takes a couple hours a day, if that, depending on the day. But I wanted to get it to a place where I'm really comfortable with the amount of revenue that we're bringing in a month and hopefully everything be recurring, right? That's kind of the goal. But you're always going to have these other one-time jobs that sometimes end up being way bigger, right? And then end up turning to recurring. So to me, with the cleaning business, the way I see it is, getting to a point where I'm really comfortable with how much revenue it's making and how little time it takes out of me. And then either continue to grow it or get to a point where we're starting other companies, right? Like whether that's a pool cleaning service or landscaping, like there's so many of these that you can kind of replicate this playbook into. And that's what I've been thinking about lately a lot is like, what else can we do? Because Miami is a massive city with a ton of service companies. And to be completely honest, a lot of them are not doing them right. And they're just bad customer service, bad at answering the phones, bad at most things. So how do you replicate this system into another type of company and keep those growing?
Cool. And I guess the follow-up question I would have for that is, if you're going to go start another company, do you feel like everything here was kind of like a transferable skill set that you could walk into another company and understand how that works? Or do you feel like you would have to figure out a bunch of things if, for example, let's go to a pool cleaning business. Do you think that would be something that you'd be completely lost in?
No, that's why specifically that one to me, it's like exactly the same thing almost. I would just need to know like what pricing is different and what like services are offered that are a little bit different, which I already started looking at. So no, it's very transferable, I'd say.
Cool. And do you feel like, I guess like from a long-term perspective, is that more like, hey, I want to exit with like a conglomerate holding company, or you just want to own these for a long time? How do you view rolling up multi-service within Miami?
Yeah, I think you can kind of tie them all into one larger company. I think they all kind of bleed into each other too. Like if you're cleaning a house and they have a pool, you can offer, pool services. If you're servicing a pool, they're obviously going to have a house and you can offer cleaning services, right? So they all work hand in hand. And, the more you kind of step into this world and you start talking to developers and real estate agents and, construction managers, whatever it might be, these are all people that can just plug you in, and those are all it takes, right? It's either those, or you have Airbnb owners who own, I have one that owns 16 units in a building and he just gives me all the cleans, right? And that's just easy recurring revenue that just becomes like automated at a certain point because he knows how to go into my website, schedule the cleaning, and then I just send it to whichever cleaner I want and we're done. Like it's pretty quick and easy.
Love it. All right, man. Well, I'm excited for that next journey. It sounds like it's almost going to happen already, proverbially, but excited for what is going to happen in the future, Gianni. I appreciate you hopping on the horn here, and congratulations again.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks.